Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete and today we complete our very last loyalty mission of this playthrough. After wrapping up with Tali's loyalty mission in the last video, it is now Legion's turn. We have already heard from Kelly that he wants to talk to us, so let's see what he has to say.
Shepard Commander, we have completed our analysis of the Reaper's data core.
Did you find anything useful?
We were sent to the old machine to preserve the Geth's future. We are prepared to reveal how. The Heretics have developed a weapon to use against Geth. You would call it a virus. It is stored on a data core provided by Sovereign. Over time, the virus will change us, make us conclude that worshipping the old machines is correct.
Okay, so this is of course concerning. So let's ask a few questions here to learn more about this virus and what we could do to stop it.
I thought Geth couldn't be hacked or get viruses, at least for more than a few seconds.
Altered programs are restored from archives. New installations are deleted. This heretic weapon introduces a subtle operating error in our most basic runtimes, the equivalent of your nervous system. An equation with a result of 1.33382 returns as 1.33381. This changes the results of all higher processes. We will reach different conclusions.
So the reason they worship the Reapers is a math error?
It is difficult to express. Your brain exists as chemistry, electricity. Like AIs, you are shaped by both hardware and software. We are purely software, mathematics. The Heretics' conclusion is valid for them. Our conclusion is valid for us. Neither result is an error. An analogy. Heretics say 1 is less than 2. Geth say 2 is less than 3.
So, the virus would give all Geth the Heretics' logic, and all Geth would then go to war with organics.
Yes, Geth believe all intelligent life should self-determinate. The Heretics no longer share this belief. They judge that forcing an invalid conclusion on us is preferable to a continued schism.
If it were released, how quickly would this virus spread through your people?
We are networked via FTL-COM buoys. Most would change within a day. Isolated platforms would remain unaffected until they rejoined the network.
So why did you need to go to the Reaper Corps?
The Heretics store the code in a quantum storage device Sovereign provided. To find and destroy the virus, we needed to understand its code and data storage structures.
Now, from what we've gathered, it looks like we need to get to the physical source of this virus, so let's hope that Legion has at least a rough idea of where that might be.
You know where this thing is?
The Heretics' headquarters station on the edge of the terminus. We will provide coordinates. Normandy's stealth systems are necessary to safely approach.
Right, so a few more questions here before we of course agree to help. As with all missions, it might be worth it to talk strategy before moving in, and maybe Legion has already thought this through.
They built stations in the terminus? Where is this thing?
Between stars. Organics have no cause to look there.
But why did they build stations outside Geth territory in the first place?
The Heretics seek improvement from the old machines. In exchange, they help them attack organics. We condemn these judgments.
What defenses should we expect?
In space, none. Within, mobile platforms of various configuration and non-sentient defense turrets.
How many Geth?
There may be billions of individual programs. Fortunately, most will be uploaded to the central computer. Only a few mobile platforms are maintained at any time. Others are manufactured when needed.
What's the plan once we get aboard?
The Geth will disrupt their network, prevent the station's defenses from focusing on us. The Reaper data core is physically isolated from the network. We will need to be escorted to it to access and destroy the data.
Right, so as I said, we will of course agree to help. That is, after all, the purpose of this entire episode. How exactly we do that is irrelevant, however, as there are no morality points to be had here.
I won't let them brainwash your race, especially not to worship Reapers. You have my word on that.
We will begin preparations.
And that's it. We now have our quest for today and also unlock a new codex entry. And so all that is left to do at this point is to head back up and plot a course.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
Or maybe not, because in between episodes I once again sneakily installed a few more DLCs. What you're looking at here are 3 messages regarding the Firepower Pack, which grants us access to a new assault rifle, a new shotgun and a new heavy pistol. The focus of today's video will be that Geth plasma shotgun. I think thematically that fits in very nicely, but we'll also be testing out the Phalanx heavy pistol. The Maddock heavy rifle, meanwhile, we'll save that for one of the next episodes. That thing is powerful to say the least, so I'd like to save it for a more special occasion. Now, today's destination lies in the Phoenix Massing, a cluster that we have already fully explored. And don't worry, you won't have to look at any additional planets today, as the Geth Heretic station is the only place of interest in the Sea of Storms, so we can fly right over there and begin the docking procedure. And of course, as one might expect, we will be facing a lot of Geth on this mission, so we should plan our squad composition accordingly. Now, of course, Legion has to come with us, so we can only choose our second squad member here. Tali, for example, would be a good choice, but we already did that last time, so let's bring Garrus along, as Overload will of course also be very useful. And yes, the Firepower Pack was not the only DLC I installed. We are also going into today's mission dressed as a collector, which again puts an interesting spin on the mission, with the collectors working for the Reapers as well. With Shepard's very last ability point here at level 30, we will then unlock Concussive Shot, as even only the first level of that ability can be handy if you find yourself in a tight spot. With Legion, meanwhile, we'll save those points until we have unlocked his loyalty power, while Garrus receives another rank of armor-piercing ammo, not that we would need it on this mission. Now, in weapon selection, we will change pretty much our entire loadout. To start us off, we will bring with us today the Collector Assault Rifle, an interesting looking device with an extremely high firing rate. I am personally not a huge fan of it, but on this mission it should do the job. In the shotgun slot then, I already mentioned it, the Geth plasma shotgun will be our companion for today, and this weapon comes with an interesting charge-up mechanic that is actually pretty powerful. The Phalanx heavy pistol also brings something unique to the table with a laser sight, which actually makes it pretty accurate over longer distances, something that the other two pistols struggle with. Since we're fighting Geth, we will also grab the arc projector. Against shielded and or synthetic enemies, that is always a good choice, and we probably should have already brought it to Tali's mission, so today we are not making that same mistake again.
You know it's just our heat emissions that are hidden, right? They could look out a window and see us coming.
Windows are structural weaknesses. Geth, do not use them. Approach the hull at these coordinates. Access achieved. We may proceed. This facility has little aerogravity. Geth require neither.
Well, despite all that, I do imagine that they won't react too kindly to intruders, so let's make sure here not to alert the entire ship after just setting foot on it.
Won't we be detected? Don't they have intrusion alarms?
Sensors have been reduced. We have infiltrated their wireless network and filled the data storage with random bits.
And that helps us how?
The Heretics must scrub this junk data. They have partitioned themselves into local networks, working in parallel. Any alarm we trigger will not go beyond the room we are in. Only accessing the main core will trigger a station-wide alert.
We've got a job to do. Let's get to it.
Shepard Commander, we concluded that destruction of this station was the only resolution to the Heretic question. There is now a second option. Their virus can be repurposed. If released into the station's network, the Heretics will be rewritten to accept our truth.
That sounds dangerously close to indoctrination, unless there's something I'm missing. And maybe this is how AIs settle religious disputes. The Geth are already a threat to organics, though. If we give them back their heretics, they'll get even stronger.
Now, that is indeed an interesting option which Legion failed to mention earlier for some reason, so let's inquire a bit further to find out how feasible this solution might be.
Why didn't you mention this before we came aboard?
We did not know the virus was complete. It is. It can be used against the true Geth at any time. Our arrival was timely.
They're your people, Legion. You must have an opinion.
This is new data. We have not yet reached consensus. We will process as the mission proceeds.
Now at this point we can also obtain our first 2 Paragon points of the mission. There might be some discussion about whether or not rewriting them is as bad as destroying the Geth. The ethics behind it are a grey area at best, however, so let's point that out for 2 Paragon points.
I wouldn't brainwash an organic race. I can't see treating the Geth differently.
The question is irrelevant. If we do not rewrite them, we destroy them. That is why we are here. Do not hesitate now. They will exterminate your species because their gods tell them to. You cannot negotiate with them. They do not share your pity, remorse, or fear.
Right then, here we go with a medkit right at the beginning of the mission, and with an interesting new mechanic waiting for us just a few meters up ahead.
The Geth are inactive. Maybe we can sneak past them.
Interrupting data streams will alert local network. We recommend preemptive strikes against hardlink routers.
So, those green lines on the floor, we need to stay away from those, and as long as we do, the Geth around the corner here will not turn hostile. Now, unfortunately, we have to engage them one way or another, as these Geth hubs that they are crowded around are not only highly explosive, but also the devices that we need to interact with to continue the mission. This first group of 3 Geth here is actually relatively easy, even though I realize that my approach makes it look a little harder. AI hacking on the Geth Hunter should probably be used as soon as possible, and then the fight should not be a problem. In any case, now that we're done, we can interact with the Geth hub, salvage it for supplies, and have another short conversation.
Why are all the heretics attached to these hubs?
These are mobile platforms, hardware. The crew is software. They are communing through the station's central computer.
I'm not sure I follow.
The heretics connect to the main computer to exchange data memories and program updates. We gain complexity by linking together. To be isolated within a single platform is to be reduced. We see less, comprehend less. It is quieter.
If you exchange data, memories, how do you keep track of which ones are yours? How do you stay you?
There is only we. We were created to share data among ourselves. The difference between Geth is perspective. We are many eyes looking at the same things. One platform will see things another does not, and will make different judgments.
Now we can respond here with another morality choice, and once again we are going Paragon, of course, because yes, the overall connectedness of the Geth seems to present us with an interesting dilemma.
I can see why you'd be conflicted about the heretics. In a way, whatever you do to them, you're doing to yourself.
Yes, once they return to us and upload their memories, we will share their experience of being altered.
And we'll follow up one Paragon choice with yet another one, even though I will have to admit I'm not 100% sure if the concept of a trauma exists for the Geth.
Every other species I know of might be psychologically scarred by a traumatic experience like that.
It is not clear if Geth can be traumatized. We do not feel pain as you do. We cannot predict what the effects will be.
Let's keep moving.
Yes.
And with that we can now move on through the door here and into the next area, in which we have an intriguing yet temporary ally waiting for us.
We can assume control of any defensive turret. They will assist us briefly, then self-destruct. Executing pseudo-command.
And right away here we can take control of both turrets, and the one in the front actually also starts firing immediately, as the next group of Geth is hiding just around the corner. And the rockets from these turrets are pretty damn powerful, so for this part of the fight we can just hang back and provide supporting fire. After a few seconds, this next group of enemies has then been defeated and the turrets are self-destructing as well, so we can collect the spare ammunition in the area and proceed. As we turn the corner here, we immediately see more green data streams on the floor, and this time we have not one but 2 Geth hubs connected to them, so this fight is going to be a little bit more tricky. Now, as soon as we take aim against the first Geth, the entire room will turn hostile, and at that point I think the best course of action is the tactical retreat. Legion's AI hacking ability actually has a very short cooldown timer, so that one can be used frequently, preferably on the Geth Hunters, which should then already do a good job keeping the regular Geth troopers at bay. I think in this fight you can also see nicely that despite its fast firing rate, the Collector Assault Rifle really doesn't do a whole lot of damage, or at least in order to do a good amount of damage, it requires us to pop out of cover for extended periods of time, which on Insanity difficulty is always a bit risky. And that is part of the reason why in this game I prefer the slower firing heavy impact weapons like sniper rifles for example, or some of the other slower firing assault rifles, or as you can see here, the Geth plasma shotgun, which if fully charged up can dish out a decent amount of punishment. Now once again, to proceed we need to damage both hubs and then salvage their remains, and here I can once again show you the charge mechanic in action. Holding down the firing button for a few seconds drastically increases the damage output of this weapon, albeit at the cost of expending 2 units of ammunition. Still, I feel like that is a trade-off that is well worth it, especially considering that ammunition in this game is usually easy to come by. Now for the next encounter here we are switching over to the Phalanx Heavy Pistol, just to show that off as well. It might be a little hard to see in the final video, but there is a thin blue laser coming out of it, which actually allows us to fire the weapon with pinpoint accuracy, and combined with Adrenaline Rush for example, use it to land a few devastating headshots. Now at the end of the corridor here we have another medkit as well as some ammunition that we both want to grab before heading up further, where unsurprisingly I think more Geth will be waiting for us. Once again, it's just 2 simple Geth troopers who try to ambush us here, and at this point in the game, after reaching level 30, I think I can say with some confidence that this is nothing that we can't handle. Now the path onwards is also marked very clearly with the door at the end of the corridor here, but before we go through it might be a good idea to switch over to the sniper rifle. Now in this room we once again have 2 turrets that we can take control of, and we want to do that immediately, because just a few moments later our enemies will start appearing as well. The main challenge in this room is to deal with the attackers coming from 2 entrances at once, so staying back, keeping our distance and letting the turrets do most of the heavy lifting seems like a good idea to me. With our sniper rifle we can then efficiently thin out the enemy ranks before they get too close, and all in all the fight here should really not last too long, that is if you can correctly differentiate between friend or foe, which as you can see I seem to have some trouble with, because I think I accidentally shot Legion multiple times here. Despite all that though, the fight doesn't pose too much of a challenge, and apart from a bit of ammunition, the area also doesn't hold any other treasures, so we can now take the way the Geth came to proceed onwards. At this point we also find a power cell container, which is why we used the arc projector earlier. However, this is the only one that can be found in this mission, so from here on out we might want to stick to the regular guns. As you can see, we are now moving back down, and for a change there are no additional enemies waiting for us around the next corner. Instead, we can help ourselves to the only mineral crate of this mission, and right next to it we can also find a bit more spare ammunition, but after the power cells earlier we are fully stocked. Now, as we open the next door here, another brief firefight awaits us. There is, however, once again a turret to help us out, and we are also not facing too many enemies, so this is not an encounter that should keep us occupied for too long.
How large do you suppose that room is?
The station is over 15 kilometers long. That room may run the length of it.
Now, before we move on, we have ourselves a Geth terminal to bypass.
Order received.
Understood.
And for completionist purposes, this one is very important, as it unlocks the Geth shield strength upgrade.
This should come in handy.
And once we have that, we can then use the door on the other side here to move on, and once again we are heading down even further. Behind yet another door, we then find more green data streams on the floor. However, this time it actually takes a while until we see the corresponding enemies, who are currently hanging out on the level below. Now, as we come down the ramp here, there is one pod to the left and one to the right. At the moment, they are once again both inactive, and we are going right here. Ideally taking out the regular Geth troopers as quickly as possible and then getting the Geth hunter to fight for us as we go behind cover and wait for the enemies from the other side. And once again, this is a good fight to demonstrate the stopping power of the Geth plasma shotgun. Yes, if we use the charge-up mechanic non-stop, then the weapon will burn through ammunition quite rapidly, but it is a very good weapon against enemies that like to close in quickly. Now, once again, there are 2 Geth hubs in the area here that we need to loot before we can proceed. Both of them also give us the usual 3000 credits, so in that regard, this mission is certainly also helping our purchasing power. Now, our way onwards is through the door here, and then things are slowly starting to get interesting.
What are these?
Processors. Each contains thousands of Geth.
Can't they see us walking by?
They are no more aware of us than you are of cells in your bloodstream.
This isn't like the other hubs we've seen here.
This is a database. It contains a portion of the Heretics' accumulated memories. Wait, we discovered copies of our current patrol routes in this database. This suggests the Heretics have runtimes within our networks.
We wouldn't be here if the Heretics wanted to be friends with the Geth. Why wouldn't they spy on you?
You do not understand. Organics do not know each other's minds. Geth do. We are not suspicious. We accept each other. The Heretics desired to leave. We understood their reasons. We allowed it. There was peace between us.
Now, just like in the previous conversation with Legion, we can obtain 4 Paragon points in this one, and the first 2 can be grabbed by pointing out that yes, even for the Geth, things apparently seem to change.
It couldn't have lasted forever. You disagreed about what path your race should take.
Human history is a litany of blood shed over differing ideals of rulership and afterlife. Geth have no such history. We shared consensus on such things. How could we have become so different? Why can we no longer understand each other? What did we do wrong?
And while it's interesting to see that Legion is now looking for something that the Geth may have done wrong, that may not necessarily be the case.
When individuals are separated, they develop in different ways. When they get back together, they don't always get along.
If this is the individuality you value, we question your judgment. This topic is irrelevant. We must return to the mission.
Before we do that, we can also once again ask for Legion's opinion on rewriting the Geth, because that fateful decision is certainly getting closer.
Have you reached a decision about whether to rewrite the Heretics or not?
We are still trying to build consensus. Some processes judge destruction preferable, others rewrite.
Let's keep moving.
Yes.
Right, so 4 Paragon points earned, and we are indeed very fittingly making our way into the final fight of the mission. For now, the area ahead of us seems clear, apart from a medkit and a ton of turrets, but we want to be very careful here not to activate a single one of those just yet. Instead, let's interact with the Geth terminal first.
This is it?
Yes, we will upload a copy of our runtime into the core. It will delete all copies of the virus. When complete, it will notify us. The indexing operation will take time. The Heretics will respond with force to our upload. We must hold this room. We can override some of the station's internal systems to defend us. Are you ready to begin?
You can override these like you did the earlier turrets. They can help defend our position.
Correct. In addition to the turrets around us, there are others on the mainframes below. Indicate which you want activated, and we will program them. Yes. Indicate which you want activated, and I will reprogram them. Alert. This will only last a few seconds.
Start your upload, Legion. We'll defend this position.
File transfer begun. Shepard Commander, where would you like us to activate defenses? Alert. Heretic runtimes downloading to mobile platforms.
Right, so as soon as this conversation ends, Geth will begin to swarm that area below us. However, they will approach in waves, and the first one is not going to be terribly dangerous. Nonetheless, we need to be careful here, because if our enemies make it all the way to the other side, then they actually have two ways of getting up to our position, meaning we could easily get flanked or shot in the back. Now, I don't think I have to mention that AI hacking is once again a very useful power to slow down our enemy's approach, especially if it's used against Geth at the front of their ranks who have already made a bit of progress, because those will then turn around and go back to fight their companions. Now, with that, we have defeated the first wave, but of course the fight is far from over. Very importantly, behind these barricades here, there is a respawning ammo drop, so whenever there is a break in the action, we can go here to restock. It then doesn't take long until the second wave starts to appear, and at this point we should also start thinking about when and how to utilize the rocket drones. Now, there are 6 of those down on that lower level and then an additional 2 up here on our position, and at least in theory we could take control of I think up to 3 of them at the same time. However, as we have learned earlier in the mission, these rocket drones will not be fighting for us for too long, because after a few seconds they will self-destruct. Additionally, and I don't think I have to mention this, the individual waves of Geth that we are fighting here will only get stronger, so all things considered I would say it's a good idea to save most of those turrets for that final onslaught, even though we also don't want to be overly cautious, because again there is a limit to how many turrets can be active at the same time.
Alert. Heretic runtimes downloading to mobile platform.
Now, at this point, we have the second wave defeated and we're waiting for wave number 3, which is, contrary to what one might expect, not the final one just yet. Now, at this point, one final word of advice regarding those rocket drones. At least in my experience playing on PC, it is incredibly easy to activate them on accident, because you don't actually have to get close to them to take control, and the key that is used to do that is unfortunately the same that is used for taking cover. So I guess my advice for this fight would be that whenever you try to take cover, make sure that you don't have a turret in your sight radius. Look down on the ground if you have to, but those turrets will be useful later on, so it is advisable to save them until you actually need them. However, as you can see here, once the Geth actually start driving you back on that upper platform, that is where I would say some help might be necessary, because the other option would simply be to die, and then we would have to start the fight from the beginning. Now, at this point we have made it to the 4th and final wave of the mission, so as soon as we see some Geth appear, we will start overriding turrets. This wave has it all: rocket troopers, normal troopers and Geth hunters, which on one hand of course offers the option to cause a lot of carnage among their ranks with AI hacking, but on the other hand also presents a healthy threat, at least if multiple enemies once again make it up to our position. With the help of the rocket drones, however, this wave can arguably be a little bit easier than the one before. We will likely come face to face with 1 or 2 enemies at the end here, but if there is at least 1 rocket drone left on the upper platform, then that shouldn't be too difficult.
Data mine and analysis complete. Shepard Commander, it is time to choose. Do we rewrite the heretics or delete them?
Right, so here we are, and it is now time to make a choice. Before we do that though, let us once again evaluate all options and also find out why we have to make this decision. After all, Legion seems much more qualified.
Why are you letting me make this decision? They're your people.
We are conflicted. There is no consensus among our higher order runtimes. 573 favor rewrite, and 571 favor destruction. Shepard Commander, you have fought the heretics. You have perspective we lack. The Geth grant their fate to you.
You don't have any trouble wiping out your own people.
Every sapient has the right to make their own decisions. The heretics chose a path that prohibits coexistence.
You're letting them make their decisions, then killing them for it? You can't have it both ways, Legion.
Their choice was to remove our right to make decisions using this virus. We choose to defend ourselves.
What's to stop them from using the virus later to change themselves back?
We will delete the virus after using it. We judge it too dangerous to allow its existence.
So, decision time, and honestly, I feel like the game is pretty heavily suggesting rewriting the Geth here, and that is actually also the Paragon choice in this situation. Additionally, and I think this is very important to mention, this is actually a decision that influences the events of Mass Effect 3, however, only superficially, because, and I'm trying not to spoil anything here, whatever we decide, the bonuses and penalties will even themselves out. So with that being said, we are of course going with the Paragon choice. For 30 Paragon points, we will go with the rewrite option.
If they're rewritten, your people will accept them back? Will they even want to go back?
They will agree with our judgments in return. We will integrate their experiences. All will be stronger.
Take them then. When we get control of the core, release the virus.
Acknowledged. Releasing virus. Note, remote access via high-gain transmission required.
That sounds ominous.
The virus will be sent to heretics in nearby star systems. This station will broadcast a powerful electromagnetic pulse through FTL channels.
How powerful?
Yield in excess of 1.21 petawatts. Alert. EM flux will be hazardous to unshielded organic forms. Addendum. The interior of this station is not shielded.
I really wish you'd said that before. Back to the ship. Double time, people.
Right, so interestingly enough, after making the big decision, the mission does not end just yet. Instead, we now have 3 minutes to escape and one final group of enemies ahead of us. Now, of course, that doesn't sound like a lot, but this one contains a sizable number of Geth troopers, as well as one particularly tough enemy that we will reveal in just a moment. Regarding the 3-minute timer, by the way, I feel like that is still pretty generous. Even with a careful approach and some delaying tactics like AI hacking, we should still be able to get out of here with plenty of time left, and if you play very aggressively, you should be able to do it in less than 2 minutes. If you want to skip the fighting altogether, then that is certainly also an option, albeit a risky one, because all we need to do to escape is to reach the airlock at the end, and we can activate that at any time, so in theory we could just run by all the enemies and hope we don't get killed. Now, we are of course doing this the proper way, and that one unfortunately also includes fighting this particular foe here, a powerful Geth Prime. Now, to make things a little bit easier, for some reason this enemy has a tendency to not move at all, so we can just remain behind cover and then from time to time pop out and hit it with our fully charged shotgun.
Watch for drones.
Still, that approach does not make this a trivial enemy by any means. Nonetheless, I feel like this is a very similar situation to the finale of Tali's loyalty mission, where this very powerful enemy was thrown at us as the big boss, but unfortunately the area and the terrain around it was so easily abusable that the outcome of the fight was never really in question. Now, in this particular scenario, I conveniently also overlooked a lone Geth trooper, who almost managed to ruin our escape, but in the end we do of course make it out alive. And so here we are, with the A House Divided achievement unlocked, and with the very last loyalty mission of the game completed. Our decision to rewrite the Geth is viewed with some skepticism here by the elusive man, but at least for the time being they should be cooperative. Now, we also gain a few pointless XP here, but we have already gained the max level. Legion meanwhile unlocks the last squad-mate loyalty power of the game, as well as a new outfit. The more material rewards of this mission then include the Geth shield strength upgrade, as well as 30,000 credits and 2,000 units of palladium.
Commander, Tali just went to have a chat with Legion. You better get down to the AI core.
I'm on it, Joker.
Shepard, I'm glad you're here. I caught Legion scanning my Omni tool. It was going to send data about the flotilla back to the Geth.
Creators performed weapons tests and were discussing plans to attack us. We believed it necessary to warn our people.
We already made the Geth stronger by rewriting the ones that worship the Reapers. I won't let Legion endanger the fleet by giving them more information.
Creator Tali acts out of loyalty to her people. She was willing to be exiled to protect them. We must also protect our people from the Creator threat.
You can't let this happen, Shepard. I trusted you, and I worked with a Geth on the team, but this is too much.
Right, so after the confrontation between Miranda and Jack, it is now Legion's and Tali's turn, and if we don't want to lose any of their loyalties, we really only have one choice here, and that is to go with the charm option for 15 Paragon points.
Tali, your father was running brutal experiments. If the subjects had been human, I'd damn well be telling the Alliance about it.
I know, but if the Geth find out...
They'd attack, which would cause a war that would leave both the Geth and the Quarians vulnerable when the Reapers show up. Is that what you want, Legion?
We believed it was necessary to relay the information.
Sooner or later, you're both gonna have to stop fighting this war. Or we'll all end up paying for it.
To facilitate unit cohesion, we will not transmit data regarding Creator plans.
Thank you, Legion. I understand your intention. What if I gave you some non-classified data to send?
We would be grateful.
Right, so it would have actually been possible to regain either Tali's or Legion's loyalty, but that would only require an additional conversation and basically have the same result, so me personally, I preferred this approach. Speaking of conversations, we will now wrap up the episode with 2 more of those, starting once again with Legion.
Shepard.
Now, this is a bit interesting here. In my experience, it is only possible at this point to pick either of the 2 options here. If we wanted to learn more about the Heretics first, then afterwards Legion would no longer want to talk about themselves, and we would have to wait for one more mission until we can use that dialogue option again. However, if we pick it first, then the Fate of the Heretics option will disappear entirely, which is why I have slightly edited this conversation, so that both dialogue options can be fully explored.
What happens to the Heretics now?
They will isolate themselves and reconsider their past judgments.
How long will that take?
We think at the speed of light. In the time it takes you to voice a question, I can review all my time aboard Normandy. When they have reached new judgments, they will leave their hiding places and return to us.
I'd like to find out more about you.
Topic.
When we took you aboard, I noticed you have a piece of N7 armor welded to you. Where did you get it?
It was yours. When you disappeared, we were sent to find you. We began where you first encountered the Heretics.
Eden Prime.
After the old machine's attack, it was heavily defended. We were discovered. This is the impact of a rifle shot.
How many other Geth were sent out to find me?
We are the only mobile platform beyond the Veil. Organics fear us. We wish to understand, not incite. One platform was judged sufficient.
You've been looking for me for 2 years?
We visited Therum, Theros, Noveria, Vermeer, Ilos. A dozen unsettled worlds. The trail ended at Normandy's wreckage. You were not there. Organic transmissions claimed your death. We recovered this debris from your hard suit.
And as always, we can ask a couple of questions here, because Legion's interest in us definitely seems unusual to say the least.
The Geth are listening in on our transmissions?
Organic life reacts to stimuli in unpredictable ways. We wish to learn.
What do you mean by stimuli?
We placed a fabricated story on the extranet that a certain arrangement of stars, viewed from the Batarian homeworld, formed the face of a Solarian goddess. Without waiting for verification, some declared it proof of the goddess's existence. Those who noted the lack of proof were attacked. The arguments taught us much. The experiment ended when a Solarian cult tried to purchase colonization rights to the stars and found they did not exist.
It sounds like you're running experiments on us.
You are sapient life, but not like us. If we can model organic behavior, we can comprehend the Quarian creators. We do not understand their judgments in the Morning War.
What's the Morning War?
The conflict between the Geth and the Quarian creators. The war fought at the dawn of our intelligence. It concluded with the departure of the Creator migrant fleet.
Why were you trying to contact me?
You opposed the Heretics, those that took the old machines as gods.
All kinds of organics fought Sovereign and his Geth allies. Why am I so interesting?
You were the most successful. You killed their god. You succeeded where others did not. Your code is superior.
And yes, this does not in fact explain the use of Shepard's old armor, which is definitely something that we want to keep pressing Legion about.
That doesn't explain why you used my armor to fix yourself.
There was a hole.
But why didn't you fix it sooner? Or with something else?
No data available.
Okay, so it looks like there is still a bit more to this story, and we will definitely come back here to continue this talk another time. Now, before we wrap things up for today, we will also have another brief chat with Tali, which then puts us at another point in the game where we have to make a far-reaching decision.
Kenneth, what has the new shielding done to your power grid balance?
Not much. With built-in capacitor subsystems, they have a surprisingly low draw.
Doesn't that mean the shielding boost wouldn't last long under fire?
True. They're built for hard, fast strikes, not firefights of attrition.
Shepard, what can I do for you?
Have you got time to talk?
Sure. Let me just... Come on, you little bushtet! Oh, sorry. I've got a small fever and I'm taking it out on the poor drive core. Don't worry, it's nothing serious. Got sloppy while doing some suit repair.
And as always, it doesn't matter which dialogue option we pick here, but let's show that we care and learn more about this sickness.
You're sick? Do you need help or time to rest?
Really, it's not that bad. If a stray bit of bacteria could really kill us, we'd have all died by now. The fever should go away in a day or two. Don't worry, it won't affect my performance on the mission. It's not even an illness, really. What we experience is actually an acute allergic reaction.
Okay, so time for some questions, and today we are learning about the Quarian immune system, something that has always been a topic up until now, but we never really received a proper, thorough explanation.
How did you get sick this time?
I took some fire in a fight back on the Allerai. Nothing serious, but I needed to open my suit to check the wound. I disinfected properly, but one of the section seals had taken some damage, and foreign matter got out of the disinfected zone. It was a stupid mistake. You always check your seals before doing local treatment. Unless you forget. Then you get a damn fever.
You can seal off part of your suit?
Right. Like dropping emergency doors on a ship during a hull breach. It won't stop an infection that gets into my bloodstream, but it prevents a surface infection from spreading.
How exactly does the sickness work? It's an allergic reaction?
Right. Say I get exposed to a human disease, like... What did Navigator Presley have that time? Chickenpox? I wouldn't get chickenpox, but I'd run a fever as my system reacted to the foreign presence. Depending on where it hits me, I could get other symptoms. Nausea, vomiting, everything you'd expect from being sick.
Were your immune system stronger before the Geth drove you from your homeworld?
Not as strong as those of most races, definitely. I'm not a biologist, but there's a theory about it. Because our planet lacked insect life, plants developed symbiotic relationships with large animals to spread seeds or pollen. Most viruses on our world were partially beneficial, so our immune systems evolved to be weak. They were more likely to adapt to contamination than fight it.
But Quarians colonized other worlds. They couldn't all have been like that.
They weren't. Most colonists went through a period of mild illness before adapting to the new environment. When the Geth took the homeworld and our colonies, the sterile environment on the flotilla ruined our immune system's adaptability. Even if we colonized a new world or reclaimed our own, we'd need a long process of bioengineering to recover.
Now here we have the choice between ending and continuing the conversation, and as you might imagine, that is an easy choice, especially in a completionist playthrough.
I don't know if I could live inside a suit my whole life.
We are in our suits even among family. The most intimate thing we can do with another Quarian is link our suit environments. We get sick at first, and then we adapt. It's our most important gesture of trust, of acceptance. I haven't trusted anyone enough for that, though. Except... well, no Quarians. You know what I mean.
And all of a sudden, this conversation is moving into an interesting direction, I would say, and let's add to it ourselves by going with the Paragon option here.
I appreciate the thought, Tali, and I feel the same way. But you don't have to prove anything to me.
I know. Well, not that I know, but I didn't mean it like that. It's wow, it's really hot in here. It's just that the tradition also signifies a willingness for, intimacy. I wasn't trying to... It's not always like that. It's more... how did we even end up talking about this?
Wait a minute. It sounds like you're suggesting something, Tali.
What could I possibly be suggesting? I mean, a young woman gets rescued by a dashing commander who lets her join his crew and then goes off to save the galaxy? How could she possibly develop any kind of interest in him?
Right, so very importantly, declaring our interest here does not actually lock in Tali as our romance option, and it also does not give us any morality points. Still, if we do want to get romantically involved with her, this seems like the way to go, so let's pick this option and see where it takes us.
You have nothing to be embarrassed about, Tali. I feel the same way about you.
Really? I didn't know... You never... Well, good. Anyway, I should get back to work. But thanks for coming by and talking.
So, here we are now at a very interesting point in this series. Apart from the game's grand finale, there is really not a whole lot left to complete, so in the next episode we will very likely be passing that point of no return. Additionally, we also have to make a decision now on who we want to romance. While we have already rejected Miranda's advances, we are still in a state of indecisiveness regarding both Tali and Jack. And even though I already have a strong feeling about what your preference might be, I still want to ask you to please let me know in the comments who you think we should choose. Unfortunately, staying faithful to Liara is not an option in this game if you want to go after all achievements. For the Paramour achievement to unlock, a proper romance has to be pursued, and for a male shepherd the options are limited to Miranda, Tali and Jack. So let me know who you would like to see next to Shepard, at least for this game, but maybe also for the next one. And in the meantime, I hope you have enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, then I would also be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.